Okay, I think we are already on 11:05, so we are well past the time of the schedule. So let's get started. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you to our next meetup of DevOps and SRE User Group Hyderabad, and also we are doing this meetup in the collaboration with the EPAM DevOps and SRE community. So a warm welcome to all of you. So just to give a brief about these communities, in case any one of you are not aware about these. So DevOps and SRE User Group Hyderabad was started a couple of months back, and have started this community for all of the DevOps professionals and SRE professionals here in Hyderabad. We are kind of very similar to any other normal meetup group. We are also focused on open source learning and free education, and we are also trying to collaborate with people so that we can learn and grow together. And in case you are in Hyderabad, or probably during this pandemic, even if you are not in Hyderabad but outside Hyderabad, you'd like to join, please feel free to join this group. It is on meetup.com. You can see the URL is meetup.com/DSUG Hyderabad. And yeah, so we also kind of are looking for next set of speakers for our coming meetups. In case you are interested to talk about anything with regards to DevOps and SRE or cloud, please feel free to reach out to me or anybody here in this group. We will be happy to actually accommodate you as a speaker. And I think I missed briefing about myself as well. So let me just quickly brief about me. My name is Sanchit, and I have been working at EPAM last 8 months or so. And prior to EPAM, I have around a decade of experience into IT. Okay, and I'm currently very involved with the Python and DevOps community in Hyderabad. So this is one of the community I'm part of. Okay. So yeah, that's about DSG Hyderabad. And for this event, we are collaborating with EPAM, DevOps and SRE community, as I said. So EPAM also has multiple communities inside the company, and they're kind of very active in all of these technologies. So we are partnering with them this time. And I'm also, since I'm working at EPAM also, so I'm kind of representing that community here as well. So that's about DSG Hyderabad. And coming to the DevOps and SRE community at EPAM, this is kind of very active community inside EPAM. This is also available on public. There's a website called communityz.com. If you are interested, probably you can always join and join the public events which we do as well. But there are combination of internal events which we do and also the external ones. So this is one of them event which we are doing for external audience as well. So yeah, please feel free to join it as well if in case you are interested. And also, EPAM is organizing some conference called Cloud and DevSecOps Z-Days. It is a very a global level conference. Around 30,000 engineers from all across EPAM are going to take participation in this conference. It is purely based on cloud, DevOps, and SRE. And a lot of interesting talks have been submitted. You guys, if anyone of you are interested to submit a talk in this conference, feel free to do that. It is scheduled for October 14th and 15th, and call for speakers are open till 20th, though it is mentioned 21 here, but it is open till 28th of August this month. So in case you are interested to probably get acquainted with any of the EPAM engineers or talk at the global level, so please feel free to do that. We will be happy to accommodate you as a speaker. Okay, so that's about EPAM DevOps and SRE community and also the event. And now I think we can get started with our event for today. So we are basically having the event themed on AWS. So we have a couple of speakers today. Uh, I'll just quickly introduce them. So we have Shaktidhar Mudali, and also we have Nageshwar Rao Rekhapalli. So I'll just introduce Shaktidhar first. Shaktidhar is a senior DevOps engineer, and he's also working at EPAM India. He has 8 years of system admin experience. Also, he has a lot of experience in networking, system architecture, and DevOps background. And he is also working on AWS and Azure as well. So that's about Shakti. And Nagesh is having around 7 years of experience into system admin and cloud and DevOps. And he's also kind of very experienced with AWS and GCP. So welcome to both Shakti and Nagesh. I would probably request Shakti to share the screen so that we can get started with the meetup. Shakti, over to you.
Thanks, Shashi. Thanks, Shashi. So today, we are going to discuss on this lambda function. So what exactly the lambda function and how we are using in the environment wise, and after that we'll go for this use cases. So how we can use that lambda function, like in the start and stop that is instance, and as well as so we are going with that followed with that step function. Then we can go for this question and answers on that. So I think everybody knows serverless. So what you think about the serverless? Anybody from audience?
So Shakti, since all of the attendees are on only listen mode, so you can expect the conversation in terms of Q&A, probably.
Yeah. Okay.
If
So
anybody,
as you know, so
yeah, go ahead, please. Sorry.
yeah. So as we know, so it's like this lambda function is that one serverless. So before moving to this lambda, so I'll a little bit talk about this serverless. What is that? What we are achieving in that serverless? Serverless, you can say so. This is that there is no server. So if it is serverless, then how can it is execute that one? So AWS is provided is like maintain this architecture behind that one. Part of this system architecture and networking and everything is managed by this AWS side. So you have to only take care about your codes and how you can configure that one, and how you can go for this any of these networking steps, and if it is configuring that load balancer or if it is HTTPS request. So for that case, we have to just maintain that one, and rest of things, infrastructure and the storage and everything, so that managed by this AWS side. So you have to just take care about your runtime environment of this your code and which language you wrote this code, and that you have to take care. So but this one it will be help you on that. So cost side also, means like it will be save your cost. So it is running your only particular time. So while you are it is triggering to that moment, it is go for this cost and everything, and rest of our, so when its system is idle, so that moment if you're not getting any request, so that moment we are not paying anything. So these are the serverless features. It's like that serverless backend AWS side maintain everything. It's like infrastructure, your EC2 instance, like according to your whether it is Linux or Windows machine. So AWS will manage that one. And networking side also is like whether it is highly available, required or not. So everything, and reliability. So these kind of things. So AWS is maintained that one. So this right now you can see this serverless platform. So in that serverless platform, so these are the features is available in that in AWS side. So you can take one example of this AWS Lambda, and for this Lambda, so when you are triggering, means like when it is have this request or any event, then that moment it will trigger, and the rest of moment, so it will be idle state. So that moment, so we are not going to pay anything for that. And regarding to the storage and everything, so that also it is managed by this AWS. So what is how much space is required, and that automatically scale up and scale down. So that also taken by this AWS side. The same thing. So what are the messages? So whatever this, suppose you are created one Lambda function or any event. So for that, after that, you have to get any message or SNS topic for that. So then you can configure for that. So you have to just pass that your few the parameter, like your email ID and how you can trigger that. What is the input event and what is the output event? So that you have to mention. So rest of that, what are the backend configurations and everything, it is done by AWS side. So on the security perspective, so there's lots of securities also, like incognito, and you can go for the monitoring, like the CloudWatch and Amazon DynamoDB. So these are features which are available for this serverless. So you have to just maintain your code Suppose if you talk about the database, so you have to maintain your only schema, tables, and everything. But so whatever the database is required, it's like a application, like whether it is Oracle or SQL. So these application and everything, so that maintained by the AWS. So you have to just maintain your table and schema and whatever this authentication mechanism if you want to apply for that, and policies. So and whatever the query, and if you are taking any backup, so that you have to take care. And the rest of the infrastructure side, so provided by AWS. The same function. So today, so we are going to do more on that in the Lambda function. So how we can using this serverless feature in the Lambda. So how it is working on that, and how we can achieve this in the Azure serverless. So as you know, the serverless they have this lots of benefits over there. So it is a low cost. So low cost in the sense you can take one example over that. Suppose if you have any item script and you have to run that one. So that script is required for that. Suppose any of the file is uploaded to this S3. So that moment it will be triggered, and after that it will be stopped. So that moment your system is completely idle, but you have to pay for that because you are running EC2 instance, and whether it is Linux or Windows machine, so you have to pay for that. When it is that script is not running, means like system is idle. That moment you have to pay for that. So also, so it's like you have to regular patching and maintain that system, whether it is start and stop, or if you any hung state, then you can restart. Then you can go for that regularly maintenance that one. So that moment it is very critical for you. And sometimes if it is not in that business hour, then you have to go for the start and stop. So that feature also you have to apply for that. So this also it is cost effective. It's like, so that's why so we are going with that serverless. So when it is required, the byte of script it will be execute. That moment it will be start. Otherwise it will be stop, and you have to pay for that moment only. Say whatever the request or whatever time frame. So that moment you have to pay for that. So as you can see, it is a low cost, and you can easily manage your infrastructure wise also. And operation and management perspective, so it is very easy as I told you. So we are going with that. If it is EC2 instance, then you can pay for that, and you can manage for that in the suppose in the patching and what is the system architecture and networking and everything. So you have to manage that one. So operation point of view, it is very simple. So you know not you no need to manage that uh, infrastructure like EC2 instance and everything. So we have to just use that one. But the backend everything is managed by this AWS. So for that perspective, so it is very simple, and it is low latency. Suppose within your network, so EC2 instance, they have this network capacity and VPC region wise. If you go for this uh, uh, availability zone, also this lots of factors matter for that. Whether you are accessing that through this any of this EC2 instance. So what are the code and everything? So what are the application if you're running over there? So that also is matter. So that moment maybe your server will be it's like when you are accessing that request or any of this APIs, or you can any of this endpoint. So that moment you are getting some latency. So for that case, so you have to again go to the EC2 instance, then increase your CPU and memory capacity. Then it will be go for the little bit better. So for that case, again you have to go to the maintain your servers and everything. So it is quite simple while you are going with the serverless. Everything is managed by this so it's like AWS side. So they are automatically scale up and scale down. So as per your requirement and as per your traffic will flow. Sometimes your peak will be more, and at it's like some business time and some event is there running. So that moment your peak is more. So that moment if you want to go for the scaling also. So that moment how you can maintain that scaling and everything. So you can define that scaling like so if it is peak time, that moment you can apply some policies groups on that. So if it is some that moment it will be applying for that policy. So that moment it is scale up and scale down. And if it is if you are define that uh, particular range of that EC2 instance, if it is exist, then it will be a system got hand. So you can take one example. Suppose in that auto scaling part, if you are auto scaling group, if you are configuring this 5 instance, so means like 5 EC2 instance, and it is scale up 1 or scale up 2. It is right now it is running 2 instance. So that moment you have to define as per your requirement. But if it is exceeding that request, then your system got fault or hang. So that moment you are facing this low latency. So for that case, serverless. So no need to manage that one. If it is request is more, automatically it will scale up 10 or 15 EC2 instance. And if it is request, that moment the request is very less and traffic is very low, then automatically scale down. The same thing. So it is available in that availability is more. As you know, in that in EC2 instance. So while we are creating the VPCs and everything, so it is asking for that availability zone. So you can go for this availability zone A or B or C. So each and every VPC. So while we are going with that creating a subnet, at the by default the 3 subnet is coming. So the same thing. So if you are EC2 instance, then you can connect to the subnet 1 and one more EC2 instance connect to subnet 2. So one more EC2 instance subnet 3. So that you can connect it, and you can say that in that you can make it as a load balancer on the top of. Then you can say, okay, so this is my highly available, and this is the feature. But networking side, so EC2 means like VPC also is providing as a subnet side, so it is providing the 3 region, and instance side also means like EC2 instance. Then you can go for that. You can go for the load balancer, and you can say it's highly available for that one. So for that case, then we have to maintain that one, means like SSL certificates and everything, authentications, and how the traffic will flow. If it is whether it is HTTP or HTTPS request, and these kind of things we have to maintain and we have to manage that one. So that also it is little bit means like managing and operating your means like operation side of your EC2 instance. It is very higher for that for you. So if you go that serverless, then that also it is reduced and it is automatically managed by this AWS. So we have to just, if you want to secure, then can just pass that SSL certificate or TLS mechanism. You can utilize that one, then it will be secure. So we'll talk about this Lambda function. So right now, so as I told you, so what is the features of that in serverless? So we are taking one of the topic of this Lambda. So in the Lambda function, so Lambda, so you are giving it more of most of the features like that. So you can see, so this is as a function as a service. Function as a service means like is suppose if you have any event or any object is running. So if any script, bunch of script is there, so that particular moment it is going to be start. And if it is not there, means like that moment if it is not triggering, that it is going to the idle state. So this is the function as a service. What are the function you have wrote? So according to that, it will be act on that. So it is a stateless also. So it's like it is completely what are the triggering we are going that. So it is according to that, it will be work on that. And it is providing also security model, integrated security model. Like suppose you can take one example. Suppose if you have the like Lambda function. Lambda function need to be accessed to that your storage is like S3 and as well as EC2 instance and as well as any of this CloudWatch X-ray or it is going to be your database DynamoDB. So these kind of things it will be going to be accessed through this Lambda function. So for that case, so we have to create one role, and according to that, you have to apply some policies over there, so that it will be access the particular features of this resources. And suppose if it is read or write, or it is read write both, and if it is full administrator, so these kind of things level means like security you can apply for that. And granular level security features also you can apply for that also. And it is as you know, this is the serverless and it is the built-in fault tolerance. Suppose if it is something's happened in the backend side, so automatically it will be switch over to this new model. Suppose right now in your Lambda function is running one more environment, but the backend is something is happening, so that moment is automatically it will switch over to this healthy node on that. So that moment you can't feel that okay, so by your code is not executing properly or not. So it is automatically managed by this AWS. And in the Lambda function, so it's like coding side. So as for your coding, so as whatever you know that which language you know, and you can build your code according to your requirement, and how you can execute that one, and how your code will be there. So you can create it and you can directly execute that one. So just suppose you can take one example like if you have this JavaScript, then you can create a one EC2 instance, and on the top of then you have to configure that environment setup and everything, and you can environment variables and runtimes and what are these dependencies, packages, and everything, and the repository, everything you have to maintain from there. And after that, then you can start the code. Whatever the code is there, then you have to execute. So that moment also code and everything. So there, everything you have to manage it. So so it is a little bit hectic for this developer guys. So for that case, so you can use a Lambda function. So you have a piece of code and directly write over there, and you can save it and you can start execute. So these kind of things, it is means like in Lambda functions available. So in that runtime also, it is a multiple runtimes. It's like multiple in the code level. So developer side, so they can multiple running time, so they can go for that, utilize that one. And it is very flexible for that. And as for your resource model, it is very flexible. So according to your requirement, at what type is like, if you are using, utilizing, and the what are the hit moment, so that you can take it. And as you know, so it is completely means like depend upon your cost also. It's like as I told you, so this is the serverless. So this one is as for whatever your code is written. So that moment, if it is hit or that moment is execute, for the particular that moment you are paying for that amount. So the rest of the if it is system is idle, so that moment if it's, your code is not running, then you are not paying anything on that. So these are these features is provided by this Lambda. So we'll talk on that in more on that. So how we can utilizing, and whether it is means like how it is in the step-by-step functions. Like you can utilize in that more component that Lambda functions. So what exactly the Lambda function is working actually. So normally, so whatever this your source event and whatever the source, and you can what is one of the event, execute to this Lambda function, then it is execute, then given to the any of the source services. Like you can take one example, like suppose if you have anything is a trigger in that in CloudWatch, so it will create one event and it will be triggered to that Lambda function. If it is your machine got stop, or if you are any of this file, it is uploaded to this S3 bucket, so then it will automatically send it to the notification or automatically execute another operation. So that moment, so you have to utilize this Lambda function. So instead of using EC2 instance and writing the script, and you can go for this Lambda function, so that it will be event based. So like as you know, this event grid structure architecture is like if there's something as you can say, you can take one example, like this is your banking operation, like you are depositing the amount, and that moment it will be deposit your in your account. So that moment you are getting the SMS, and as well as getting the email trigger also. So how it will be happening, so this is suppose your source is depositing your amount and creating one event. So that event will be go to the Lambda function. So that Lambda function, it is written. So once it is the amount is credited or debited, so that moment it will be hit or trigger the two SMS service. Like one is that your mobile and mobile number, and another is for that your email address. So like this, it will be the working on that. So event source, so event source is the any. So as for your environment setup, so you can go for the any event source, and you can what is the event type, you can take it out, and after that, according to that event, we have to write some logic. So what will be your logic? So to that particular to execute that one, and it will go into the which services. Services you can use the any services. So we'll talk it more in that in use cases. So how you can go for this Lambda function in the multiple services, and what are the features is provided by this database. So we'll discuss more on that. So this is the shared responsibility model for the Lambda, and that is provided by this AWS side also. It's like how it will be work in that in customer side and AWS side. So as I told you, so this is completely serverless. So you can see this in the below side, AWS side. AWS is maintain everything like it is maintaining this compute, storage, database, networking, and what is the locations and region, and availability zone, and the platform management, and code encryption, and networking traffic also. So means like you can say, so completely managed by everything is managed by this AWS side. So you have to just maintain your application management, and what is that monitoring and the logging, and whether your code have this internet access or not, and if you want to secure the data integrate means like data encryption, then you can go for that. So as you know, this in this AWS is like serverless. So that what is the server? So according to your requirement, like whether it is Windows or Linux, and what is the capacity of this server if you need for that moment, everything is managed by this AWS side and this compute. So it is coming over here, and after that also it is storage also it is required. Suppose as I told you, so we have this Lambda function. So after that Lambda function, you need the storage also. So this storage, if you are talk about this EC2 instance, then you can attach that EBS volume, like one root volume. Apart from that, you are attaching this data disk also. So that moment also, so we are managing everything. So this step, so in the serverless architecture, means like Lambda architecture, so you don't need to maintain that one. So whatever your data and whatever your storage and everything, so how much space you will be required for that, so that AWS will decide for that for you. And according to that also, is a database if it is required for this particular your application, then it will give you the one feature so that you can attach your database, so that what are the backend servers and everything it will execute. So normally, so you can take a one example, like if you have a Java or Python or .NET script. Sometimes your script have some database requirement, like whether it is like a local database or any database setup, then it is required for that. So that moment, so how you can define for that, and you have to install that database in your system or any of this it's like a cloud database you have to take it. So that also it is providing this by AWS side. So these things it will be maintained by this AWS side, and you have to just utilize that feature of that database. And networking, so as I told you, so it's like networking configurations and everything. So if you want to secure your network, suppose if you are serverless and you don't want to go for that internet access, so you are telling, so completely this architecture, this Lambda function, or everything should be in that isolated mode. I should not be reach out to the internet. So that moment also AWS has provided this feature. So you can only select that VPC, so that whatever your execution and traffic will not flow to the internet or not in the public. So it is within your network. Say it is within your whatever network defined on-prem and cloud. So that within that network, so that you can say, so this code and the piece of code and whatever the executing in that particular time frame, it is in the secure channel, and you can make it secure also. So along with that, AWS provided is like for the serverless. So multiple step of the security features like AWS identity provided like IAM role, so that you can apply some policies also. It is not into that particular AWS as well as customer side also. Customer side means like you are, so that your backend servers and region and highly available, everything is by provided, means like take care by this AWS. So you have to take care your part, your code. So that code have that access only for this EC2 instance as a read only, or it is a full administrator access, like start and stop and deploy, so like that. So after that, if you do that function don't have the access to the other resources like any of these resources, so it has this only access to the particular EC2 instance access. So that also you can define from your end. And AWS said, so they are defined as multiple security features, like if it is data need to be encrypted, then they are providing for that data encryption facilities, and as well as code encryption also, and by code encryption as per your platform, like whether it is .NET or your Golang or any other language, so we are writing, so that. And the network traffic also the same way, so it will be also it is available. And so as I told you, so if you want to secure in that network traffic, these are the features, like it is not going to the public, and if you want to go use any of the firewall over that, and if you want to check that the particular value header files values, and what is the body it is passing through this internet or it is executing. So whether it is HTTP or HTTPS, that traffic also you can, each and every component you can trace out, and you can control your traffic channel. And from customer side, so customer only manage that monitoring, and you can see that traffic flow, means like the customer don't want to go for that your piece of code, don't want to go for that internet. So that moment customer side, so they want to secure from their end, put in that isolated mode. Then you can see that logs. So how you can in that monitoring like CloudWatch and X-Ray, they can utilize that one, and they can see that logs also. So at what time it will trigger and what is the traffic flow, and they can utilize the CloudTrail also. Once they log in, log out this information also, it will trace out, so that it is more uh, more you can go for the more detail of that your logging and access the question on that. And question also, they have to maintain that application management, like suppose they have a piece of code is like right now the 10 MB or 6 MB, or if they had exceeding to this 10 MB, so something so that they have to take care. Means like it is Lambda, they have the limitation of this code, maximum 6 MB. So if you want to go for the beyond that 6 MB, like your code and package, it is more, it is like 200 MB. Then you can attach to that your storage account, or you can make it a package, and that zip file you can attach to that Lambda function. So that also, and data is like as I told you, so authentication and security wise, so customer side also we have to take care, like data encryption and integrity and authentication, how you can go for that. So authentication, so we'll discuss more on that, how we can secure this Lambda function, that architecture wise. I'm moving to the next slide. So these are the supported languages for this Lambda function. As you know, as you are is more into the developer side, then you can go for the Java or C# or Ruby or Python or Node.js or Golang, and the shell scripting also in the Python. And if you are not in that completely developer side and you are in the one of DevOps guy or administrator guy, so if you know that PowerShell or shell scripting also, then you can write the piece of code and you can execute that one. So suppose normally those are from this administrator guys, they want to use that Lambda function, so they can utilize like whatever in that each and every component resources of this we are provisioning in AWS side. So you want to maintain in that tag. So that moment also you can write that one of the piece of the code. Suppose this is our criteria tag criteria. So this value should be present in that particular resources. If it is not there, then it will be trigger a SNS topic, or means trigger a message to that our email. So that also you can write a piece of code in the PowerShell, then you can put into that in Lambda function, then it will be automatically check that on each and every component, region wise and everything, then you can send the notification to your email. So this from like system administrator side, they can utilize that like that. And if they are much more flexible in the Python, also they can utilize that one. And if you have any configuration management, if you know that let's say Puppet also, then you can integrate with that. So instead of running one of the machine, so if you want only for the executing like bootstrapping kind of thing, then also they can do that one. These are the services we can integrate to that the Lambda function. So it's not limited to these features. So it is depend upon your asynchronous and synchronous services, and what are the services provided by this AWS side. So like you can go with that CloudWatch for this your logging, and you can take it from any event from this CloudWatch. Then after that, get to this you can pass to this Lambda function. Then you can execute that next services like event grid feature. And S3 bucket also is like something, suppose if something is uploaded or it is something is deleted, and somebody is fetching this information and which information it is fetching. So that also, if you want to trigger for that, then you can go with that in S3 bucket. And IoT, you can, as you know, is like IoT. So that moment, so this is the one of this event in that IoT. So something has happened in that in particular infrastructure, then automatically Lambda will be triggered to this IoT hub. Then it will give this next point of this your services. Means like AWS configuration and CloudTrail, port commit, and DynamoDB and Exchange. So these are the features which are supported by this Lambda. As I told you, the security features is available by this Lambda. So that security like data protections and identity management and compliance and infrastructure security and configuration and vulnerabilities. So as I told you, so that data protection means like encryption provided by this AWS side also. Means like whatever this code you are storing in that particular infrastructure, right? AWS, they are encrypted the data, and as well as AWS also provided the features, so you can encrypt your data in that while you are writing this piece of code in that function. That also you can maintain, and you can go for the MFA feature also. It's like first of all, when you are logged into that particular institute instance or its account and everything, then you can go for the MFA. The same thing, so you can utilize that MFA in that particular your function wise also. And Amazon Mapping, so that also it is one of the feature. It is more general level feature of that. So you can make it secure to this your Lambda function. So in identity and access management, so as I told you, so you can go for that role-based access, or if you want to apply any policies, IAM roles, you can for that you can go for that in identity. And the compliance validation, suppose if it is whether you can it is compliant is matching or not, like vulnerabilities here whatever they are passing, so that also is matching or not, so we can check it that one. And infrastructure security, so as I told you, so means like security groups, you can attach to that particular your uh, uh, means like infrastructure as the VPC, so you can utilize that one. So in that Lambda function, they have this feature, means like you can attach to that VPC, so that VPC has this feature like whether it is internet facing or it is not internet facing. So it's means like it is completely private VPC. So that also you can utilize in the security type. So there also you can maintain and restrict your traffics and netting rules and everything can apply. So that according to your means requirement, that traffic will be flow for that. So that also in that security, so you can maintain on that your side. And Azure also, sorry, AWS side also is provided this security widgets, so that you can maintain. And vulnerabilities like comparing for that analysis, so that you can maintain that one. So uh, so we can check it, so that your compliance and everything it is configured properly or not, your architecture wise, that you can check it. uh, Monitoring, so you can go for the monitoring your function, Lambda function, like you can go for this X-ray. You can see, you can go for the CloudWatch and the CloudTrail. As you can see, this is the one of this diagram. So client is hitting to this Lambda function, then it is executing that processing and everything is done. Then it is going to the next event, and after that it is logging to that in the CloudWatch and S3 bucket. So whatever this, it will actually it is client is calling to this S3 bucket that the previous function is running on that Lambda. Lambda. So according to that, it is logging the data and everything in that in X-ray and CloudWatch and the CloudTrail. So that means like while you are accessing that client will access to the storage means like S3. So that moment, what is the traffic will flow and what exactly it is asking for that. So it is completely whatever the logs, it is completely stored in that in X-ray and CloudWatch and CloudTrail. No problem. So these are this completely in that in Lambda. So we'll go for that one use cases. So how we can utilize in that Lambda to that stop and start the distributed instance. Then how we can utilize in that step function. Nagesh will give you brief you on that and the step function and how we can combine with that Lambda with that step function. So you can, so the start and stop is to instance. So this is the means like as I told you, so it will reduce your cost also in your infrastructure. Suppose in your infrastructure, so few of the system is required for that terms like instance is required to running the execution with your application. So that moment is after the business hour if you want to be stopped. So that moment how you can go for that. So for that case you have to write piece of code in that Lambda, then to start and stop your instance. So this is the architecture. It's like how we can define. It's like what is the design flow over here. So in that EC2 instance, in the left side you can see this is a CloudWatch and it's event based. So at the particular event and the particular time it will be triggered, and CloudWatch will be monitoring that one, and it will be triggered to this AWS Lambda. So okay, so that particular time it will be hit, and particular time frame it will be start that execution of this AWS Lambda function. And this Lambda function is written in that Python. As I wrote it is the Python, and you can write in that in Java or any of this PowerShell command you can write it. But I wrote in that in Python. So here also this IAM role, as I told you, so Lambda function is provided this IAM role and security features also. And in the Lambda, I am giving the permission to this EC2 instance, start and stop, and the same thing. So it is collecting the information from this CloudWatch, and it will be over the activities. So here the EC2 instance, then it will be start and stop for that, start and stop, and then it will be giving this message also. So I will review the demo. So how we can start and stop at EC2 instance. So right now you can see, so this is my Lambda. There is a two functions as you can see over here, two functions. And as you know that it is like it is region wise also, so it is supported the multiple regions also, and according to your region wise it will work. And they fully accounted, and it is concurrent details. And here also you can see, as I told you, that logging kind of things. So we can see the metrics. So at what time it is executed and everything. So these are the metrics. So the last 3 days, so it is happening this time. This is the time frame. So these are my two functions, and if you want to route this application also, then you can route and you can utilize it and you can update here. And right now you can see, so this is my two function, the start and the stop function, and it is runtime. It is in the Python right now, and the code size is that 307 bytes. So if you have the more also, the maximum capacity of this your code is that the function Lambda function is taking as that 6 MB. If you have the more that one, so then you can utilize that your storage account or any repository, or if you have the local, then you can upload that package metrics zip file, then you can utilize that one. And it is, you can see that what is the memory. So depend upon the memory also, it is limitation to the limitations also is there, and according to that memory. So right now for this execution of this your my Lambda this function, it is taking this, it will be running within that memory, and it is enough for that. Suppose, as you know, is like any of this your EC2 instance, they have the memory like 2 GB of RAM and 2 core of the CPU. So that moment your piece of code is not require that much of memory and that much of CPU. So that we want to reduce that one, but it is not that much of flexible in that. In AWS side is providing the EC2 instance to reduce that one. So for that case, it is wastes your EC2 instance for that particular one piece of code. So that moment you can utilize this Lambda, so that it will giving us very less memory start initially. If you need to increase your memory, then you can increase it as per your requirement, and automatically also it is scale up according to your requirement also. So right now I'm going to inside of this function. So here you can see that the configuration, then permission, then monitoring. So how you can monitoring that this one, and what is the design flow for that. So in that designer, so actually this is my design actually. So you can design yourself over here, and you can add and can trigger. So right now this function is triggered from this CloudWatch, and go to this here, this one script, then it will hit that one. So this is a design view. So you can add and trigger. You can design over here. So if you want to destination, so then you can go for that like that. So destination means like you can go for this SNS topic or SQS or Lambda function next and Lambda function or any event bridge event hop, then you can utilize that one. So and here also the piece of code. So you have to write here the piece of code. So here what are the editors like according to your means like whatever your expert good knowledge on that in scripting wise like Python or Java. So in the PowerShell, then you can write it over here and you can save it as per your extension. And this is called the environment. In that environment variable, means like as I told you, so runtime variable also information. So it is storing over here. And according to your code piece of code, if it is required the environment variables like if you have the piece of code with Java, then it is Java one variable is required for that. And according to that, you have to pass that to the parameter, means like request, and to this environment variable is required for that. Then you can manage over here, and you can pass this information for that. So now environment can pass that key values and values, and you can add it, And as I told you, so if you want to encrypt your data, as AWS provide encrypted your data, so from customer side also. So here also it is you can see this encryption in the transition. So it is provided by this Lambda to the customer, us, so that you can pass our environment variables and you can make it as a encryption, and as well as we have to pass on the keys. Like as you know, as I told you, so AWS also provided authentication, identity from this backend, as well as it is providing to this user also, you can now you can secure. So here also it is providing as a master key. So you can create that master key. You can use this customer master key. So utilize that one. So if you have some any master key, then you can utilize that one as per your requirement. So if you don't have any master key, then as for the AWS provided, by default master key, then that you can utilize that one. So that while you are accessing this variable, pass that key, then you can encrypt the data and you can see the details. So this is the encryption of the data and decrypt the data. So for that it is required, and it is very simple, and you can test it and you can utilize that one also. The same thing, so you can utilize the tag, what is the resources provide the tag features, you can utilize that one over here, and as well as the basic informations description. So you can giving that informations, like this is my start or stop EC2 instance. Start EC2 instance, so that I can give this one description of the particular this function. And as I told you, the runtime also it is handled by this Azure AWS side also. So here these many supported language it's coming. So whatever language you are comfortable, then you can choose it and you can write it, and it is support for that also. The same thing, so as I told you, the memory. So by default, AWS is providing the 128 MB of the memory, and after that, if you need the more memory to execute the particular application, then you can increase that one. So it is 2 GB, like 3 GB of this code is required, you can increase that one. So after that, if it is timeout option, so like that right now I'm giving the timeout feature is a 3 seconds. So if it is within 3 seconds, it is not eligible, then it will stop the timeout. So these things also you can attach to that, you can add it. Suppose if you do a piece of code, suppose you have the multiple Lambda function, like one Lambda function it is taking the getting the authentication, another Lambda function getting the triggering from this event, another Lambda function is coming from this your storage, means like any of this S3 bucket information, then it will go for this last and giving the result. So that moment is taking the time for the each and every Lambda function will be executed. So that moment also you can give the time of feature. Education role, as I told you, so this IAM role is provided by this security, one of the security feature. Is your feature, like I am adding this IAM role for the Lambda, means like it is getting that start and stop the EC2 instance. So for that case, I'm creating one role and attach to that your existing role. So the means like it is one of the security features provided by this customer, means like apart from this AWS. So you can define as per your requirement a role and policies, and you can attach to that particular Lambda function. Suppose you can we are more discuss on that in the step function also. So how we are using this means like this roles and how it is activities. So you can after that you can offer a save. In the last also, it's like as I told you, so it's like it is asynchronous inversion and the deadlock and related queues, and suppose if it is queues is there, then you can clear the queues. So right now it is attempt for the 2 times. If it is suppose the first time it is getting error, then it is attempt the second time. If it is second time is getting, then go for the timeout. So what is the maximum age of this kind of this event can add that one. And dead letter queue is like suppose something is happening, so then you can send this SMS topic, then SMS SQS, then you can attach to here. So right now I'm not attaching here. The same thing is like database proxy. So as you told, so it's like backend also it is providing database features. So then you can add the database proxy features. So what is the authentication, IAM authentication, and what is that engine compatibility means like whether it is Oracle or SQL, MySQL, that also it is to provide information over here. So once it is done, everything is, so if you want everything is fine, then you can start for that manually. If you want to start, then you can click for the test. So you can see right now here my EC2 instance, it is in start mode. So right now you can see this my EC2 instance in the start mode. If you want to stop that one, so manually I can execute that piece of code. So right now I'm going to the stop EC2 instance. So this is the design layer. So how it will work. So this is a piece of code written in the Python, and here I'm passing this EC2 instance ID, and I'm trying to go for the stop. So manually I can trigger it here and test it, then it will go to the stop. And here also you can see the details whether it is stop or not, and what is the summary of that you can see, and what is that, what is the build duration. Also here also you can see that build time, billing time also, and what is the capacity, means like memory utilizing. Right now it is 84 MB is memory is utilizing, and so it is configured, actually it is for the 128 MB, but it is taking the 84 MB. So rest of things, means like you can define like that way. And it is for the code, summary code, as I told you. So it is giving that code, so that is the master key, so that you can utilize that one. And this is the request ID, and you can see this is the informations, login informations. And right now here you can see that it is stopped. So if you want to the event based also, means like as I told you, so particular business hour, it is going to be stop and start. So that moment, so you can go for that in event. So as I told you, so it is one of the event grid also. Means like after to my event, it will be start that EC2 instance. So right now, so here is some of this event. Uh, so I can execute according to my event. So right now, so I can go for that 6:30. So if it is 6:30, then it will start that job, cron job. So right now the target, the Lambda function, it is that start. So like that. So you can, if you want to fix rate within a fixed timing, so if you want to start and stop, then you can go for that. And if you want to go for the cron job, then you can schedule it for that event. Six 30, 104. So here also you can see, so right now it is stop mode. You can see it's automatically within a time frame, it is going to start. After 2 minutes, it's going to start. So meanwhile, you can see that information that in monitoring. So how it is worked, and whether it is trigger or not, you can see the details in that monitoring dashboard. If you want to go for that cloud as logs and more into that, and then you can add it. So recently I executed this one, so it is come of this log streaming. So if you want to go for that Kibana dashboard or something in the other dashboard, then you can add it. So the same thing, the permission side also. So these are the permissions. This applied to that particular logs for the logging. The create log, resource and streaming, and put log, and these are the policies for that. Next instance, and this is the Lambda function for the invoking function, Lambda function. And if we start, then you can see this monitoring and the details logs. So the whether it is start or not, the details. See, now it is started automatically as per your timing. So it is started automatically. That code is executed. Lambda function. And here also you can see the details. Yeah, that's it. So Maggie, so we'll be giving this step function on that. So how we can utilize the step function in the Lambda, and what is the step function, and how the Lambda it is working in that in step function. So I'll hand over to the Maggie.
Sure. Thanks, Shakti. Before that, I think there are plenty of questions. Would you like to take them right now, or
Yeah, we'll discuss on that after that. So once Nagi is giving the more
there are
into that.
specifically? So if you can discuss that, probably it will be a break for also for some people, right? And then we can move to the next talk after that.
Yeah, sure.
So the first question is: can serverless Lambda can accommodate any number of requests?
Yeah, it will be accommodated. So like as you know, means like it is not taking the one of this request particular that moment. It will 1000 requests at a time if you are passing, then it will be also it will also work. So now you can see in that as I told you. So in the dashboard also you can see. So here full concurrent account concurrent is 1000. So it is unreserved as the account is 1000. So if you are passing the 1000 requests at a time, then also it is handling at the moment. Yeah. So next question.
Sure. Yeah. The next question is serverless region specific?
Yeah, as I told you, so it is a region specific. So right now you can see. So my piece of code is in that North California. So if it is Lambda function is another region, then you can go for that. And if you have the code is that depend upon the code. So right now this there is a two things is coming over here. The specific for that the region wise it is specific serverless. Means like it is depend upon your region wise. But in that Lambda function, if I wrote that any of the code, I want to access that another region detail data and everything. So that moment you have to write that such a code so that it will be access to the other region and other account also. Like suppose here you can see this Lambda function. So it is going to start for the EC2 instance. So here I wrote the piece of the code for that. This is also I'm mentioning over there. You can see here I'm passing this the region information I'm passing over here. So what is the region is this is the region and this is the instance. So here I'm passing, then you can pass according to your requirement of the region. Suppose it is not in that west US west and it is something is APAC region, so then you can pass it APAC region, but you have to connect with that particular resources. They are the further steps for this connecting to these resources, like you need the STS token for that or any authentication mechanism, and you have to access that account. So that also you can pass it over here, then you can able to access. Then you can see it is not in that single region, but yes, your Lambda, it is your serverless is completely region wise, like North California or any APAC or Middle East, this kind of region wise it is there. Yeah.
Okay.
Next
Next question. What about the throughput of logic? Yeah. What about the throughput of business logic when we using Lambda as compared to microservices and EC2? As Lambda need to start when requests arrive, but EC2 instance code is not loaded.
Okay. So business
A
perspective.
little
So
bigger
if
question
you
probably,
want
but
to,
two parts.
yeah. So as I already told you, so business perspective, so it is very much compatible for your code, means like your infrastructure. So it is up to you. Means like it is depend upon your use cases. So how you can use that one. So it is not you can utilize a straightforward your Lambda. So you can't utilize that one, but it is depend upon your use cases. Like recently I shown you. So one of my use cases is that there is 100 of the VMs, 100 of the EC2 instance is running. So that it is required, that application required running in that particular EC2 instance, and these are the configurations is required. Otherwise, it will not work. So that moment, what you can do for that from your end? So they are telling this is my pre-prod or revert your SIT instance. Then after that business hour, then you can stop it. And after when business hour will start, then you can start it. So that moment, how you can go for that? Then you can manage that your one of the you are writing the piece of code, maintain any of this instance, then you can execute that one. So that moment, so instead of going there, then you can go for this Lambda. This is the one of this your use cases as a business logic. And the second thing, suppose if you are using this a voting application, so in that voting application in that web browser, you are going for that. Okay, this is my preferable person, or this is my preferable object, so that I can go for the yes or no that polling option. If it is choosing yes, then go for this another option it is coming. So these kind of things, if you are passing in that in particular server, means like piece of code, then it will be taking more means like cost, and as well as hitting to that particular object, then it will take time. So that moment, how you can go for that? So that moment we are creating the microservices and we are hosting in that in a Docker or Kubernetes. Then you can hosting that through this expose that APIs and manage to that API gateway. So that moment while it is hitting the API gateway, so that is one of the microservices it is come up, and it is when we are hitting that one, then according to that it will be go for that picking any of the information from the any of the sources. So then that moment your Lambda function will work. So I'll give you the one example over that. Suppose in your voting application, suppose if you are passing that information, okay, so I am choosing A, B, C is there, so I am choosing A. So if I choose A, then it is pick that information from the storage from the S3 bucket. So that moment, how you can write the piece of the code. So we have to expose that one of the API. Like the developer, so they expose that API, adding to that in API gateway. While it is backend will be get it from this storage, means like S3 bucket. So for that, so they wrote that Lambda function. So instead of writing in that any of this Docker or Kubernetes, so they can go for that Lambda function. So they are calling to the Lambda function. Lambda function will execute, and they pick that object and display in that in portal. So this is the one of the use cases, so that you can utilize in your infrastructure, and one of the business use cases. As you are using the instead of using these microservices and EC2 instance, you can utilize this completely Lambda function, because you are not configuring, you are not installing anything in any of the server. You are just collecting that information from this S3 bucket and displaying in that in your portal. Does it make questions answer for this question? Yeah.
Yeah, I hope Arpit, you got your answer with this. In case you are still having doubts, we can again post your question and we will take it. And since I think we have around 10 more questions for Satish in this, but in the interest of time, we will not follow those questions. Probably I'll ask Satish to Shakti to actually answer them offline by chat. So just a couple of more questions. Shakti, can we use jar and var files directly using Lambda?
Yes, we can utilize like as I told you. So here also right now you can see this piece of code is running this this is size right now. You can see. So just a minute. This is my size, 307 byte of size. So maximum size is 6 MB. So beyond that 6 MB, this AWS is like this Lambda, it will not take care. So for that case, you can go for the zip, or you can store in that in any of the storage account, it's like any S3 bucket. From there also you can add in that one. Yes, it will be take care of the jar function and the jar and var. See, it is up to you. Like how you can calling that in that code, jar or var, that is up to you. But it will be execute. And you can know this jar is that completely in the Java base. So as I told you, so runtime is also Java is available. So you can write the piece of code in the Java, then it will be execute. Like as I know, Miss, like your question will be coming as a build side. Suppose if you have CI/CD pipeline, then it will be run a create a one build. Java, then Java build will create as a jar and var file, and how you can utilize that on over here. So it will be triggering that function, is like getting that information and trigger it and build it, that you can utilize. You can go for that also.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Shakti. The next question is how you see use of Lambda in cloud adoption.
Hybrid cloud, as I told you, so if you're utilizing from your on-premise activities, like your this Lambda function, you can secure within your network. And as I tell you, one option also, this S3 bucket. The same thing if you have the EFS system, elastic file system, that in your infrastructure. So this is contain like your huge amount of data from this whatever your on-premise data. If they want to store in that storage account, so they can go for the EFS and they can attach to that your on-premise. From there also you can go for the hybrid, and whatever the code if you want to return, you can store over there, and after that you can paste that code, attach to that your any of this Lambda function, then you can utilize that one. And one more thing also, suppose if you want to talk about this another way, so suppose if you have any of this means like piece of storage informations like any of the picture or data or anything, it is in your on-premise database or on-premise storage. From there, if you want to get that information, so for that case also you can write a piece of code for that in Lambda. So this is my you can write in the Java or in Python or PowerShell. So this is my on-premise server, and I want to copy that information and put into that in EC2 instance. That also you can do it like that way. And there are many ways in that hybrid cloud option also you can do it. So the job will be great, and you can, it is from the on-premise information, and you can collect it, and if it is executing that in cloud, that you can do it.
Okay, one last question for Shakti. Can we parse entire logs to just a second. Can we parse entire logs to an Elasticsearch cluster outside of AWS environment?
Yeah. Suppose as I shown you, so here the option is that already for this monitoring, AWS provided this larger scale of this. So you can go for the CloudWatch. As you know that CloudWatch, this what are the metrics is happening. It's like if they start and stop or something is happening, then you can see this in CloudWatch. And apart from that, if you want to see the any logs like that, it's like logs in the sense whether it is running at what time, what is the region, and whether it is compliance or not. So that things also you can see in that your CloudTrail. So that in the detail manner, and what is that? What are the permissions you are providing? Like that Lambda function, I'm providing that IAM roles. So that IAM role, what is the activities? That also in that storing that CloudTrail. And there's a more feature is available in that X-ray. AWS is provide the X-ray. It's completely detailed manner, and each and every step you can see the details in the X-ray. Yes, of course, if you want to use that your apart from that your own logging mechanism, like it is not in the Elastic search. If it is any New Relic and any of this have the own logging mechanism, so then also you can pass that and can configure that one also. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Shakti. So I think with that, I think we will conclude here, and rest of the questions which we have from Arun and Nitish, we will take it offline, and I'll request Shakti to answer them on chat. So probably now I think we can move to the next talk. So I'll request Nagesh to share his screen, and he'll be talking about step functions in AWS.
Yeah.
Over
Thank
to
you, guys.
Nagesh. Thank you, Shakti.
Thank you, Shakti. Thank you, Sanchit. Yeah, you guys able to see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I hope now you guys have a fair idea about what is meant by serverless architecture and what is how Lambda function execute task which you have defined. So then comes to AWS step function. So what is meant by step function? So step function means it's a workflow of discrete services to accomplish a larger goal. So in AWS step function will create a workflow for your to achieve your end goal. Step function have different other features like integrating with other AWS services like Lambda, SNN, SQS. So what is our main aim of step function? To design a visual workflow so that you can track your end goal. So you suppose if you have a sequence of tasks, you can design a workflow. So after this task, you have to perform next task. Based upon the previous task output, you have to perform some other task. So in this case, in this scenario, step function will be most useful, and it will give a visual flow also, so that you can track where you have missed and where you are facing some errors or whatever. So easily you can track your applications services flows. So maybe you can get a doubt. Already we have a Lambda function. Why we need step function? As I told you earlier, Lambda is a serverless architecture function. If you have provided a piece of code, it will execute that function and it will provide you the output of that. But step function is quite different. Step function we will call it as a workflow. It will give you a workflow to accomplish your end goal. So in the workflow, you can include as many as many services you want, as many tasks you want, you can create, and you can create a design flow from end to end. I will give one example. Let us say we are most familiar with our e-commerce websites, right? Like Flipkart or Amazon, whatever. If you buy something, you get different kinds of levels, right? Maybe first you have to order, then that seller will approve your order, then it will go to packaging state, then it will go to shipping, then finally it will come to your delivery. So we can call it we can compare with that step function. So a step function will give you such kind of visual workflow to design your application and goal. Clear? Okay. So what is step function? Already I have given complete definition of step function. These are some brief points to give idea of about step function. Architects multiple AWS services to accomplish tasks. You can include SNS or SQS, Lambda function, and ETL jobs. Anything you can include using step function. Simply you can write a JSON code to call that particular job, and you can run the job. Based upon the output of that job, you can run next task. So it creates a process flow for you based upon the JSON code you have written, so that you can track of everything. So you have a visual workflow, right? So easily you can track your any errors or any flow diagrams. You can modify, you can recreate your step function easily. So it have an automatic retry and triggering mechanisms. We already have familiar programming like Java, C, right? Python. You have a retry mechanism. Suppose if your task is failed, you can try multiple items, and you have a tracking mechanism. So if you know that expect some error from your task, you can catch that error and you can perform particular task to mitigate that error, and it will log each and every step in your flow, so that if something goes wrong, you can go back and track that error and you can fix that and you can rerun your step function. So these are some good features of step function, why we need use in our flow. Step function is based upon task and state machine. I will explain about what is meant by task and what is meant by state machine. Task, we can say some function you written in some programming language to do a particular function, right? So state machine is nothing but your flow. As I gave an earlier example for e-commerce website, so each and every stage like ordering, packaging, shipping, delivery, we can call those 4 stages as a states, and this entire flow we can call it as a state machine of one particular flow. So each and every state we have a different task. Suppose if you order one item, so there is some task that seller has to approve that, and the next item would be go to package. So it has to pack from the warehouse. Then next task comes for shipping. Shipping means if that package is in different location, then you have to arrange the logistics to deliver your nearest location. Then comes to delivery. So those are the middle ones will consider the tasks, and those major ones like order and packaging, shipping, and delivery, we can call it as a state machines. It uses serverless workflows, and if you are writing any step function, you no need to provide any infrastructure. It will create automatically for its by own and run your function. It define workflows in JSON. That is the best advantage of step function. You no need to use any other programming language, or you don't need to add any extra programming knowledge to implement step function. It is a pretty straightforward JSON language, and you can monitor from the console and CLI and APIs. All the other options available, so you can monitor your step function, what's happening, whether your step function is triggered, whether all the tasks are executed in a sequence manner which you have provided. Everything you can track. So I already told you each step execute in the sequence. So one by one it will execute. So retriever failures, if something have any failure, it will retrieve how many times you mentioned in the code. Let us say if I mention 5 times, so I'm running some job in my EC2 host, and I can mention 5 retry counts. So 5 times it will try to reach the job. If the job is not responded, it will say it is failed. So as I told you, it has a catch exception mechanism. Suppose you have as expert some error from your task, you can catch that exception. Let us say you know that maybe some error, known error. So you can catch that error and try to do some task to mitigate that error. So these are the features provided by step function, so that it will ease your life. You have any flow from end to end, any application service flow, you can easily design it step function, and you can get it done. And one more main use case of step function, we can say ETL jobs. If you want to run data warehouse jobs, so that you can easily create a step function, then it will run the job and provide output for you. So it's a simple JSON example for step function to run just a hello world method. Comment, we can say sorry. Comment, we can say it's a human readable message, so that you want to understand what is it doing, and you can simply write an message to understand. And hello world is here a state machine. So you have to give some meaningful name for your state. In our earlier example, I have said maybe hello world I can define here the ordering, right? So next state will be packaging, shipping, like that. So states means where you want to start that. So I want to start at ordering, so I have to put that name again, and I will write the now task part. So in the task part, I will write what I need to do. So here some simple lambda function is written to print hello world, as simple as that. So like that, you have to write as many tasks based upon your application flow. Every time, instead of end, maybe you can write next state, so that this flow will move to next state. Like that, you can write as many tasks you have in your application flow. So there are 2 different kinds of step functions available in AWS. One is standard and is express one. What is meant by standard? If you have any long running jobs, standard one is best suitable for you, like any ETL jobs, or maybe any I want to gather some data from 2 hosts and club together and send it to some other application. And if you want to keep track of that, standard workflow is best action. Like I have given example of e-commerce ordering, right? So that flow has to keep from the ordering state to delivery state. The flow has to be kept alive. So in that case, right, your standard workflows are useful. Apart from that, any other DevOps related CI/CD pipelines or code pipeline, if you want to integrate in your application services, and standard workflows are best useful for that. So maybe you can ask the question, why we need Express? Even we have a long run queries, why we need Express? So there is a limitation in standard workflow that it can handle only 2000 requests per second. Apart from that, it cannot handle. So then there comes of express workflows. If you have a high volumes of data, let us say IoT data transitions, or maybe some high
Nagesh, can you hear us? I think there is some issue with Nagesh's end. Let me just reach out to him. Shakti, can you hear me? Arun, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Sachin.
I think let's wait for Nagesh to join back. I think he got disconnected. So sorry about that, folks. Let's wait for a couple of minutes. I think he shall join back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nagesh, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I'm able to hear. I think some network
Okay, yeah.
glitch.
We can see your screen, so probably you talk. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to express workflows, we have a high, if you want to process high volumes of data, then you can create express workflows. It has a 10,000 request per second capacity. You can use it for any high volumes of data in SQS or any IoT stream, right? In that case, you can use express workflows. Okay. As I told you earlier, we can integrate step function with services like SNS, SQS, and ML services like SageMaker and Transcribe. Maybe ETL services like AWS Glue, batch services, and you can integrate with ECS. So, if you want to perform, if you want to suppose you have application requirement. You want to integrate between the multiple services at one go to achieve your end goal. Suppose for application will send a message, some notification. That notification has to reach some other service between, and you have to reach to the particular application to process it. In that scenario, you can create a step function. You can trigger your step function by using any Lambda or any using a simple Lambda function, so that this step function will run the entire flow and provides output for you. So currently, these are the services supported in step function, code pipeline, and other important services it has integrated. Okay, so these are the 7 states available in step function. I think you guys have a fair idea what is meant by state in step function, right? So it is a particular task can be run in that particular state. So entire flow we can call it as a state machine. So we have a different kinds of states available. Choice state. For suppose you have a different branching logics, yes or no kind of thing, or maybe based upon the previous task output, you want to send it to different kinds of tasks. So in that case, you can use choice parameter. And parallel means it's a kind of similar one, but it will run 2 tasks at a time. Suppose you have a requirement of a data segregation. You can run 2 jobs parallelly and segregate the data by using another task, and you send it to your application. Suppose if you want to run 2 parallel tasks at a time, you can go for a parallel state type. Wait, if you want to delay your task for some time, you can use this wait. fail. If you are any suppose you tried multiple times in using retry mechanism, but still it will fail, it will go to fail state and it will stop the execution. Similar kind of succeeded. Pass means generally pass will use to finish the flow diagram. It will pass its own input to output, just a kind of pass layer. Map most of the time will be used in the express flows to run array of inputs together. I can give one example for express step function. Means in the same scenario, like online ordering, right? So you ordered, but seller has to approve your order based upon the stock availability in the warehouse. So in that case, our express step function will useful, because warehouse means you have plenty of items, thousands of 10,000s of items, right? So you can you create an express function flow. It will search entire warehouse and give the output to you saying that whether this item is available or not, and it will update the inventory. So in that high volume of data, you can go for express workflow. For online ordering and tracking of your item till the time you reach to you, we can go for a standard workflow. I hope this will give you clear understanding between the two different types of workflows. Yeah. So in AWS referential architecture, we have plenty of use cases available. You can check in github.com/AWS-samples. There are plenty of use cases has been provided for each and every services. So we pick some use case from referential architecture to give you a brief idea about step function. So this use case is kind of image recognition and processing. So in left side you can find the visual diagram of this use case. As I told you earlier, start means this is a first stage where you are starting your step function. So in the next stage we can see, right, extract image metadata. There is a task running to get the metadata of image. Metadata means geolocation of that image, and what is the size and what is the format of that image. So on information it will extract by using that image. And there is a choice state. In choice statement, it wants to check the image type, whether it is a JPG or PNG. If it's some other format, it will say not supported image type. It will go to fail state and it will end the step function. Suppose if you uploaded a correct image format like PNG or JPG, then it will process the metadata. So in right side you can see entire architecture diagram for your complete understanding. So some user is uploading some image to S3 bucket, and S3 bucket will for S3 bucket, right, in notification we have attached one Lambda function. Like this Lambda function will trigger this step function. So this step function, what it will do, it will extract the data from the image and geolocation, file size and format, everything, and it will process and it will send it to next Lambda function. So based upon the choice size, right, it will go to recognition and thumbnail, some other Lambda function design. Once all the tasks are finished, all these tasks will be performed by Amazon recognition ML service. So this ML service, what it will do, it will take that image from that Lambda function and it will process it, and it will get all the information and send it to DynamoDB. So this to achieve this entire flow, if you want to write manually, right, it will take a lot of time and it will be complex. So that's why Amazon step function comes into picture. Easily you can write all the stages in using a simple JSON format. So I will walk you through one sample JSON format, how we write and what we can achieve in a detailed manner through console. So it is another kind of use case for EBS snapshot management. So we can create a step function to I think you might aware about snapshot, EBS snapshots, right? Generally we'll keep snapshot for disaster recovery or failover scenarios for production servers. So but yeah, as and when snapshots are creating, right, it will incur more cost because we are using for storage purpose. So what you can do is you can keep a retention period. Maybe retention period will be depends upon your organization requirement. Some organization will keep 365 days. Some organization will keep maybe 2 months, 3 months, like that. So you can create a tags for that, and you can use based upon the retention period. You can move those snapshots to disaster recovery region to achieve disaster recovery facility, and after particular some days you can delete those snapshots. So if you want to write a logic for that using some famous programming languages, right, it will be more complex and some human intervention is required, and you have to schedule that job. Maybe if you have any errors, right, to debug also it will take a lot of time. Instead of that, if you have this step function is in place and write a lambda function for that, so you can easily track up that. If some any failures, right, you will get a easily SNS notification saying that so and so snapshot deletion is failed, so and so snapshot copy to disaster recovery location is failed. So easily you can go back and track entire thing. So that is the best example we can describe for the step function. So for demo purpose, I have taken one sample file. I'll upload to S3 bucket. What intern it will do, that audio file will go to Amazon transcribe service. What Amazon transcribe service will do, it will convert that audio file to text format. So this Amazon transcribe job doesn't give you, it's kind of asynchronous job. It will not give you input for output for you saying job completed and all. So based upon API calls, we have to get that. So what I'm doing here, I have selected transcribe service. I write as a lambda function to trigger that, and once the job is triggered, there is one more lambda function written for to check the status. So it will go to it will give a API call to transcribe job, and it will get the output of that, whether it is success or it is running. If it is running, again it will go to wait state. If it is success, it will go to the end state. So like that, if my job run from hours together, this loop will it trigger from wait to complete, and once it is completed, a final output will be displayed. So we can go to AWS console, and I can show you how we have written this one. So these are the step function console. State machines, we already told we can create a state machine to create our entire flow. This is the step function I have created for my transcribe job. So to achieve that, so I can edit, I can show you everything. So this is the JSON code, and this is the visual flow of that. So this is a JSON code. I already told comment means give some meaningful name to understand the flow. Start at means where you are starting your step function. It's a transcribe stage I'm starting. State name should be meaningful so that you should understand how your flow is going from one state to another state, like that. So you have to give that meaningful name. States means next step will start here. From here it will start. So I'm starting at my transcribe state, and this is a type task. I already explained different 7 types. Type means task. We have different kinds of types available: task and activity. Activity is nothing but if you are running any worker, you can use that here activity. Generally, most of the scenarios, right, we'll use a task because we'll create a lambda function, or we will call any intern any other service like SNS, SQS, right? So we'll most of the time we'll use tasks. Resource means which resource you are using. So this is the syntax of step function will calling lambda function. So AWS states, and it will invoke this particular lambda function. So what are those parameters? So this is the function name. This is my ARN of transcribe lambda. I can go to this lambda. So this is my lambda transcribe job. So this ARN I have updated here so that my step function will trigger this lambda to run the Amazon transcribe job. It's simple. This is my S3 bucket step function long running process. This is my sample audio file. Whenever I uploaded this file to S3 bucket, I have triggered one lambda function. I have written one lambda function in the events. So in the events, I can edit and show you. So any object is created, it will trigger my lambda step trigger lambda function, so that my step function will start. My step function will start once my step function is started, right? It will trigger this lambda function, lambda transcribe. What it's doing, it is just getting that audio file from that bucket and sending to transcribe board. You have a Boto3 module, right? And if you want to access AWS services, we have a Boto3 Python module. You can easily incorporate your changes here. So it will in turn call the transcribe job, and it will start a job. It will send that MP4 file to transcribe job. So next stage. So next means I'm saying my step function go to this particular state. I'm saying that a transcribe wait state. Just I'm waiting for only 2 seconds, right? I'm only 2 seconds. I'm going to transcribe status state. What this state is doing, it is again triggering one more lambda called lambda status check. If you go to that lambda, it's not doing anything. Just it will querying Amazon transcribe job whether it is success or failure. So it is getting just output from that job. Like you can see job status it is getting. It will return the job status to but this particular state. So I'm saying next state. So next transcribe complete. Saying go see this is the state transcribe complete. Once it is completed, right? It will go to end state. So there are two choices. Transcribe whether it's success or error. If it is success, you will get a message saying completed. If it is failed, you will get a message saying failed. I already told you past type of thing will be used to simply connect your workflow to finish the workflow in a complete manner. So one good feature of step function is they are already in predefined code build available. Suppose if you want to include some lambda invoke function, so immediately it will give entire code base file. Just you have to copy that code and edit your parameters, and you can easily use that. That is one advantage of generate code snippet option here. Suppose you have a publish message, SKS message, manage job, see batch job. So all the inbuilt functions that are directly given. You can see ECS manage task. So you can give that ECS cluster name and etc. parameters, right? You can get JSON code readily available. Just you can copy and incorporate your step function. So to demo this, right? Instead of re-uploading, just I'm renaming this sample file so that my lambda function will be triggered. Okay. So if you go to now step function, by this time it is in running mode. See, it is saying running. So immediately my step function trigger lambda got triggered, and it will trigger the step function. So you can see that visual flow here. See, wait state is still running. You can observe the code here. So you can see the entire output here, which state, each and every state, it will log all the information, what happened, and whether it is success, failure. If it is failure, which state it's failed, or which step it is failure. So you can get this much output. See, it is success. So because my audio file is completely processed, so that's why I went to success state. I hope it is clear, guys. These are step functions are working. So I can say step functions are mostly useful when you want to design a application flow like this. Maybe you have different kinds of let us say maybe you can your application will upload some SQL files to maybe some data to S3. You want to update those files in a DynamoDB, or maybe you want to update those files in another application service. You can design a flow easily. So you can write a lambda function to perform this particular task, and you can trigger a step function whenever any application send that update file to S3. So it will complete entire flow for you easily. I hope it gave clear understanding of entire step function. We have another use case also to give you a brief idea about we have open source reminder application we have taken. What it will do, it actually hosted on S3 as a static website. If you give any information, email address or some message to it, right, it will send that message to API gateway. That API gateway will trigger our step function. So once the step function will trigger based upon the choice, whether it is an email reminder or SMS reminder, it will send that email to you. So we can show in that console also. So it is my step function for that email reminder. I can edit, I can show here. So comment to give some meaningful name. I am starting my task at send reminder stage. What this send reminder stage will do, just it will wait for a second and it will go to the choice state. In choice state, I have mentioned two options, whether it is email or SMS or both. You can see it, right? Email, SMS or both. So this variable will get input from the this website. Let us say I kept waiting second as a one. I'm giving some sample message saying hello. I'm giving my email address here. I'm choosing option called email. Then that email option will be replaced here. So my choice state will get an input saying that I have chosen email option from the API gateway. So once that email option chosen, right, it will trigger email lambda. See, I have mentioning here. So if any user selected email option, I'm telling my step function, go to this particular stage. Step function, please go to email reminder stage. My email reminder will stage what is having. It is having my email reminder lambda function. So I can go to the lambda function. So email reminder, what it's simply doing, it will send an email using Boto3 module. That's all. Based upon the event trigger, it will send an email to you, whatever the email address we have provided in the API application. If I select SMS, it will go to this particular SMS. If I send both, I'm running a parallel task. If I send both, right, both the reminder I should get in a parallel. So that's why I have used type parallel, and branches I have given email reminder and text reminder. So simply it will trigger both the lambda function at a time. So you will get both the reminders. So if default state error means if it is failed, it will go to default state saying no matches found, and my step function will be ended. Let us say I have covered all the details. I will send an email option. I have selected email option. So I got a message saying that status is success. If I go to my step function, saying that see my step function executed 1247. If I go here, we can find that in the visual console saying that. So set reminder function my code is started. I entered a choice state. I have chosen email reminder option. So my email reminder option is succeeded, lambda function is succeeded, and then it is going next state is a pass, and my step function got ended. If you see my Gmail address, I got a mail saying that hello. So this is how you can create end-to-end flows based upon your requirement. Maybe you have different kinds of requirement to run multiple jobs, or maybe ETL jobs, or data extraction jobs, or maybe image processing jobs, or maybe you want to handle your auto scaling groups. So such kind of things, right? Instead of writing a code base and managing that, you can easily convert them to visual workflows, so that they are reusable. You can easily make a little bit modification to your lambda function, and you can create multiple flows how many you want. So pricing wise, it is a cheaper price. It has $0.02 per 1,000 state transactions. So price is also very less, and it will trigger the lambda. So you have familiar with writing lambda functions, right? So you can easily build the lambda step functions. I hope you guys this demo gives you enough confidence to think about your application flows can be converted to step functions. Yeah. I think thanks for your patience, guys, and thanks for joining this session. Sanjit, yeah,
Sure.
I'm done with my
Yeah.
presentation.
Thanks, Nagesh. Thanks a lot. I think it was very nice talk. So we have a few questions. If you like to take them.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first one is, can we update the standard step function while it is running? In other words, is there any versioning maintained in step function?
Yes, you can do that. A step function you can while running you cannot update. You cannot change the name also. But maybe you can update your Lambda functions and you can maintain the versions for your tracking purpose.
Okay, sure. I hope that answers your question, Arpit. The next question is, we need to write JSON by own or it's auto-generated by some tool?
Yeah, I'll be shown while using the demo, right? There is a auto generator option available. If you are familiar with writing JSON files, you can do it by your own. But actually, it is looks like a JSON, but we'll call them as a Amazon State Language, ASL language. To do that, right? What are the services supported by step function? For all the services, there is a code snippet readily available. Only you have to select that service and update here. I think I have shown in the demo. I hope this would have cleared for you.
Sure, thanks. So the next question is, if we need to change Lambda while step function is running, do we need to redeploy or it takes change on the runtime itself?
If you ever make any changes to your Lambda function, because it depends upon only ARN, if you change the name of the step Lambda function, maybe you need to re-update your step function. Until unless if you didn't update, didn't change your Lambda function, you don't need to worry about that. While running itself, whatever the Lambda function it is there, it will take from that. But if you change the name, obviously it doesn't know that you change the name, but you have to manually update here.
Okay. I think, yeah, these are the number of questions we had. If anybody else had any question, please feel free to ask using questions tab. I'll be happy to ask it to Nagesh. But meanwhile, I think thank you, Shakti, and thanks, Nagesh, for your talk. I think it was helpful for a lot of people. So thank you for that.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So probably if you can stop sharing, Nagesh, I'll share a couple of things for the folks here. And meanwhile, people can still ask questions, and I'll probably again come back to the questions session again.
Yeah, I stopped the share screen.
Okay. But I think I can. Okay, let me just see if I can share it now. Can you guys see my screen? If it is visible?
Not yet.
Okay. Once again. Okay. Is it visible now?
Yeah.
Yes, Sanjit. Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so just to update folks that since it is DevOps and SRE user group meetup, right? So any meetups which we do organize here, we also keep all of the meetup presentations in this repository called DSUG Hide Meetups. So in case you would like to actually refer this presentation which Shakti and Nagesh has presented, you can always come back to this repo and take a look at that PPT, and we'll also be sharing the recording of this talk as well on our social media channels and also through our Telegram group. So just to give a quick reminder on that website, that this is our website, dsuhyderabad.org, and in case you would like to be connected, there is an email here, and we have our Telegram group, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can always follow us, and then we can be connected, and you can always be notified for the further meetup. And we also are looking for speakers for our next set of events. In case you would be interested to submit a proposal, you can always come back to our this repository called DSUG Hyderabad Meetups and create a new issue here. Once you do that, you can select a template for submitting a talk. Once you do that, you should be able to submit your talk here, and we should be happy to host you probably in the next coming meetups. Okay, so that's about my request to all of you to probably think about submitting proposals as we are looking for speakers, and some information about the group, and also about the community we have at EPAM, DevOps and Study community. This is the page, communitiesd.com, community/DSE EPAM India. I will share that in the chat as well, and also in the email. You can always watch out for the external events we are going to do here, and probably get benefited from the knowledge we will probably be sharing. Okay, let me just check if there are any further questions. Otherwise, we will try and conclude. Just a second. Okay. So there are one more question. Nagesh, it is for you. How you see step functions different from Camunda? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it is CAMUNDA. Nagesh, you are there?
Yeah. How do you step function different from Camunda?
In case you want to take this question offline, probably you can do that. We can always reach out to Arpit on our Telegram group. He's there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's better. I can say we have different kinds of workflows available in AWS itself. We have a simple workflow and step function. So one question I can say is step function have inbuilt in-house property of AWS. It will it can be used within AWS, means what are the services or what are the application or what are the hosts accessible from within the AWS account. For that only step function can be used. We have a different workflows available for this kind of like a hybrid model or maybe on-premises jobs. You cannot compare these both at a time. I can say step function is proprietary of AWS. So you have, if you want to design an application flows of AWS services, and if your application or receiver both are accessible from AWS, then you can go for step function. If you have a different kinds of mechanism between your on-premises or multi-cloud environment, maybe probably you can go for other tools, maybe open source tools or maybe other this kind of workflows tools. In Azure we have Azure function, in GCP we have Dataflow function, but those are in-house tools. I hope this clarifies question.
Sure. Thanks, Nagesh. I think that answers your question, Arpit. In case there are any further questions, probably you guys can always reach out to Nagesh or Shakti on our Telegram group. So with that, I think we can conclude. Thank you everyone for joining, and thank you again to Nagesh and Shakti for wonderful talks. Thank you to Bhima and also to Ashim for allowing us to conduct this meetup on the Saturday. And thank you to Arun as well for being here. Okay, with that, I think we can conclude. Thank you everyone for joining.
Yes, yeah, I want to give a thank you note for all the attendees because even though it's today festival that you guys joined to encourage us, I think it's a good cherished moment for us. Thank you guys. Thank you for all attendees and EPAM CND team. Thank you, Sanjit, for a wonderful organization from end to end. And thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.